Welcome to another patriotic episode of From the Music Store, a fascinating and hilarious show brought to you by WBNJ.
Good morning! No, wait! Good evening, Radio Land! That's a bit excessive, I know. I'm Jason.
I'm Jeremy.
So, this happens to me a lot. I don't know if this happens to you. Last night, I had a long day here at the shop, got home. My wife was away, got the kids to bed, sat down, poured myself a nice little, let me move up here, little glass of bourbon. I'm going to turn on the news, maybe watch some TV. And then all of a sudden, Good Morning Vietnam comes on at like 10 o'clock at night, 10:30 at night. I'm like, oh, really? Like, I was going to go to bed.
Now you're there.
And I'm there.
Yep.
And I had never thought about that show, at least in the context of like what we're doing here. I don't know if you have any thoughts on it, but I think the movie's freaking brilliant.
Oh, I love that movie.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. The end part, I don't know. I was able, to maybe pass a little bit and go to sleep on the end part. But the beginning, when he's like killing it on the radio and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. Awesome stuff. Okay. So we're back, ladies and gentlemen. We had a little bit of a hiatus. We had a holiday here and some other craziness going on. But we're going to do some fun stuff today. We're going to start off with a little bit of trivia. Jeremy, I'm going to read to you some lyrics.
Do you have to guess the song?
Yes, and you have to tell me what song this is, okay? All right, you ready? Let me dig it up. And where is that band who so vauntingly swore that the havoc of war and the battle's confusion, a home and a country, should leave us no more?
Feels like Iron Maiden, but I know it's not.
It's not, and you know what? Don't feel bad that you don't know the answer to this, because I just learned the answer to this while I was doing my advanced research in the men's facility before the show came on. Because I was thinking that we were out, we had the 4th of July, right? So, thinking 4th of July, we're celebrating our country's birth, and one component of that is fireworks.
Yeah.
I have all my fingers, fortunately, still. We had a lot of fireworks this year. Don't tell the police that.
They're legal in Jersey now.
Well, no, but we got them from Pennsylvania.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah, those. I have an inside guy. He works in Trenton for the, I won't say his name, but he works for the, he actually works for the state. Yeah, and then he, by Trenton, so drove over by Philly, got some explosives. We had a good time. Anyway, one part of that is our national anthem. So I was just actually reciting lyrics from our national anthem.
So not Iron Maiden.
Definitely not Iron Maiden.
Francis Scott Key.
Run for the hills. I put that on the other day. It's amazing that at the time, like, that was heavy. Like when I was a kid, and actually that was one of the Iron Maiden songs I liked. I didn't listen to Maiden a lot. I had a lot of heavy metal friends and stuff. But that's a good one. But when you listen to it now, it's not really that heavy.
Yeah. Well, purveyors of heavy.
I'm going to move. See, I've just realized I'm not even looking at you. So I'm going to move my mic so I can actually see you, so we can converse. Yeah. Definitely doesn't sound like, some of the stuff that's listened today. Speaking of which, I had a student learning some bass lines. So we were doing, I don't know if you heard, we were working on the Another Brick in the Wall Part 2.
I had. I was able to hear that downstairs.
Yeah. What a great bass line that is, by the way.
Yeah.
Simple, but awesome. So anyway, this student told me, like, oh, yeah, I heard Korn do that. So, yeah, right? That's what I said. I was like, so we got to play this. Let me hear it. And they basically redid Another Brick in the Wall Part 2, but the bass is so grinding and edgy and distorted. Like, part of the beauty of Pink Floyd is there's a sexiness to Pink Floyd. Right?
Sure.
I mean, it's smooth.
Oh, yeah. That song is very smooth. For all our listeners out there who don't know, Korn was
with a K.
With a K, is classified as a nu metal band that they gained huge popularity in the... they probably were doing it in the early 90s, but definitely by the mid to late 90s, Korn was everywhere. So I'm sure a lot of people know who Korn is, but for those who don't, and don't listen to that kind of music, they are nu metal.
Nu metal, as opposed to new metal.
That's right.
We should invent some form of metal that gets us on the you can't possibly succeed us in metal, and have to have a term like the infinite metal.
Infinite metal.
Googleplex metal. Googleplex, that's actually a number, I think.
Oh.
My daughter always tells me about big numbers, but I think Google is actually a number, not just a search engine.
Right.
Okay. So yeah, wow, that didn't take long for us to get right back at it. For people in radio world, there's some new exciting things happening over here at Waterview Music, which is the actual music store that we use for our show. For our listeners globally, this probably doesn't apply to you, but hell, it's kind of interesting anyway. So we are expanding, big news, everybody, here in our local area into the arts, into art classes, an art gallery, and a small cafe in the midst of all that where you can have a lovely cup of coffee or a nice little bowl of homemade ice cream. So we're going to actually have a fun little interview. It's only a couple minutes long with a dear friend who is a ice cream aficionado who's going to tell us, we're going to hear in a few minutes here, a little bit about the kind of artisanal ice cream that we're going to be bringing to our world of music and now arts. Now, let me ask you something. What's your take on this? What is an artist to you? And while you answer that, I'm going to, because we don't have Arthie, I'm going to look up the actual Webster's Dictionary definition of an artist. Because I'm sure it's probably more interesting than what I could come up with. So I'll ask you first to pontificate on that, and then I'll read the answer.
What an artist is to me. To me, I guess an artist is somebody who, from their own imagination, creates. And whether or not that's a sculpture, or whether or not that's a song, or whether or not that's, I know that you view it this way, somebody who is a master in the culinary arts, maybe the presentation on your plate, their art is their food. So anybody from their own imagination within, I guess, the given parameters creates. What is Webster's Dictionary have to say?
You're really, really close. You're pretty spot on. A person who creates art such as painting, sculpture, music, or writing using conscious skill and creative imagination.
There we go.
There you go. So that's what you did. I add a little bit to it where I think that a artist is somebody who creates something that appeals to your senses. So we have auditory abilities. So music is that, we have visual abilities. So paintings and sculpture appeals to that. Food to your taste senses, and perfume or scent kind of thing. Was it aromatherapy? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah. Things that smell good. unlike my lesson room. So that's pretty exciting. So we're going to play that, and then we'll be back with some more random bantering here in a minute. Tell us your name and your love and involvement in the world of ice cream.
Hi, my name is Gilbert Elsmeter. I'm originally from Australia. Grew up in a household full of chefs and restaurateurs. My parents both worked in food and beverage business pretty much my whole life. Dad was a trained pastry chef, ton of experience with ice cream through his life and career. And against all of his advice and wishes, I went into the ice cream business myself back in 2009 together with my sister in Australia. And really ever since then, I've really pursued a passion in frozen delights and frozen desserts, specifically looking to understand how people love and enjoy ice cream and using it almost as a vehicle for flavor to explore flavors around the whole world. In 2018, we opened an ice cream store in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, New York, called Republic of Boozer. And Boozer, for anyone that doesn't know, is considered one of the oldest forms of ice cream. Originally from a region called the Levant, which spans Turkey, Syria, Lebanon, Israel, and Palestine. And traditionally it was thickened with an ingredient called sahlab, which is the ground root of an orchid tuber. And that itself gave ice cream the properties that most modern day stabilizers and egg whites give ice cream today. They didn't have access to those ingredients obviously back then in the 13 and 1400s, so they used what they had, and that's the ice cream that we made in the store in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. My passion for ice cream really is about, like I said, exploring flavors and using it as a vehicle, because ice cream is an amazing vehicle. It's fun, it's nostalgic, it brings joy to people's lives, and that's why wouldn't anyone want to be doing that every day?
Talk to us about the difference between mass-produced ice cream and something that is done with care and intention and with somebody's hands in the environment in which the ice cream is being served.
Yeah, and that's a really good question because it's something that you learn along the way. Most people's first experiences with ice cream is the mass-produced kind that you buy in the grocery store. High overrun, what we call in the business, is essentially ice cream that's whipped to create much more of a light, fluffy, and airy product instead of a dense product. In the ice cream world, that's considered to be relatively low quality though. It allows producers to use less raw materials and ingredients to produce more of an output product, but a product also that melts much faster, is much higher in sugar content, whereas your traditional, let's call it small batch, homemade ice creams are far more dense, way less of an overrun, and don't necessarily need a lot of sugar in them to actually give you the sweetness that you can get from the raw ingredients that you're using high quality milk, high quality cream, and other ingredients at home. Those themselves have natural sugars and have natural flavors and sweetness that you can get from making it at home. So, of course, you'd prefer the better tasting, better product, of course, at the end of the day, but not everyone has access to those things or has the ability to create those things.
When you do small batch artisanal ice cream, because the batches are smaller, you have much more freedom in the types of flavors and experimentation you can deliver versus when you're buying ice cream from a distributor where the selection may be limited or of a lower option choice for you.
Definitely, as I mentioned initially, ice cream should be a vehicle for flavor, a way for you to explore different flavors, different ingredients, whether they're sweet, whether they're savory, salty, spicy, it doesn't matter. All of those things can be in ice creams, and some of those things are weird and wacky. Like it or not, we had 15, 16, 17 different flavors at the store that spanned ingredients from all over the world. What were the best sellers? Chocolate and vanilla. People always go back to what they know and love. That doesn't mean you have to buy cheap and cheerful chocolate and vanilla ice cream. You can make amazing chocolate and vanilla ice cream at home, but knowing that ice cream is a vehicle for flavor, why not explore? Why not experiment and try all different kinds of things? And mass-produced ice cream companies are not really going to do that for you because that's not their business. Like I mentioned, most people go for vanilla and chocolate. They're the best sellers. Sure, some kids like to colourful ice creams like your bubble gum and whatever else ice cream flavours that are out there. But at the end of the day, it's up to you to decide what you love and what you like. So why not give it a try and try different things to see what you can come up with?
I would imagine that just within the chocolate profile, there is a vast amount of variety that you could incorporate. I mean, I know personally when it comes to chocolate, I like really dark, artisanal, comes from all over the world, and it has maybe a stronger flavor profile than a Hershey's chocolate bar. But just to say that chocolate is the most requested or most popular, do you have a lot of free range just when dealing with the chocolate flavored ice cream?
Yeah, well, chocolate's an interesting one because most people know chocolate as white chocolate, milk chocolate, and dark chocolate. But like you mentioned, chocolate tastes very different depending on where the cocoa pods and the beans are grown around the world. Just like coffee, there's different flavor profiles for where you source those ingredients from. So you can explore hundreds of different types of chocolates. And most chocolate, well, traditionally chocolate was made without any dairy in it. It's purely the ground cocoa pods and mixed with sugar. So you can buy chocolates that are made from purely those two ingredients, and that's when you can really taste this chocolate profile of what you're having. So you could buy those ingredients from, let's call it 5 different countries, create an ice cream base from that, or even create a chocolate sorbet from that, because chocolate is super high in fat, which is really good for chocolate ice cream products. And taste, you can taste the world through different forms of chocolate ice cream.
Is it safe to say that you could craft ice cream flavors to the extent where a customer could come in and have a different flavor every day of the year? What's the limit? Is there no end to the amount of variety in the flavors that you can do?
it's definitely up to you as a business owner, as a cook at home, an experimental chef. Really, the possibilities are endless. It's up to you. There's obviously just like a musician has a score, has a time signature that they play, and let's call it a boundary in which they play, where there's some rules, and then you are creative within those rules. You can do the same thing with ice cream, sorbets, and other sorts of frozen desserts, just so that you do get a great texture and a great mouthfeel when you're eating that product and enjoying it. The way that the ice cream freezes also depends a lot on the sugar that you use, the raw ingredients that you use. So those quantities, and there is this art and science combination whenever you're creating a frozen dessert or ice cream product.
What are some of the more exotic materials, ingredients, flavors that you've used either successfully or unsuccessfully in experimentation with the ice cream flavors? Something that's definitely maybe not commonly tried in a frozen dairy dessert.
All right, so most recently, corn. So using sweet corn that's mixed into a milk base. A lot of success there. Think candied caramelized sugar mixed with corn. What does that taste like or sound like? Sounds like popcorn, right? And that's actually what the product ends up tasting like. To us, people living in the United States, Australia, wherever it is, that sounds like exotic, but that's actually a very common dessert in Brazil, for example. So you can take other cultures and learn about other cultures through ice cream too. But of course, there's combinations which might not appeal to me. So once we tried a soy sauce and chili crunch ice cream, right? Soy and chili crunch go really well together when you're eating Asian or Chinese, specifically Chinese food. Don't really work well with a milk base. Sichuan peppercorns we've used before together with white chocolate, so almost a numbing, spicy texture in your mouth. A little bit of salt, that flavor of the salt together with white chocolate works really well, surprisingly. So you've got to try, you've got to experiment, you've got to make mistakes, and do it because you love it, not because you're trying to be rich or trying to make money. Just do it for fun.
What about bacon? Bacon always seems to find its way into everything. How about ice cream?
Bacon ice cream is amazing. Candied bacon, get that nice smoky flavor, you get the sweetness. Works really well.
Excellent. Okay, well, thanks for coming in, everybody. We are going to be, hopefully, having some of Gilbert's recipes here at Waterview as we open up. And we look forward to some exciting flavors ahead.
Come by and try them. Hope to see you all here.
Cheers.
I'm your ice cream man. Stop me when I'm passing by. I'm your ice cream man. Stop me when I'm passing by. They say all my flavors guaranteed to satisfy. One time, boys.
Okay, we're back. Actually, while we were replaying that, Jeremy was like, oh yeah, so we were actually talking about Francis Scott Key and the National Anthem. So this is like a good segue. There are 4 stanzas, I guess. Yeah, 4 stanzas of the National Anthem. Of course, I kind of felt sort of dopey that I actually didn't really realize that. And that was from, like, I read from the second, third, or fourth one. It had the word band in it, which is kind of why I picked it. And then I was like, there's just no way in hell he's going to get it.
Yeah, well, I didn't. What's really funny is that we don't hear all the verses. So imagine there's somebody there going, hey, you know what? The national anthem that you wrote is really good, but like they like basically Billy Joel'd him. Like, you got to cut it down. You got to cut it down to 305.
Oh, yeah, he got edited.
That's right. He got edited. It's like, no, the producer went, I'm sorry, Francis.
Yeah, well, there are words in there that are difficult, like just within, that aren't even used in our language,
the
like
vernacular.
Or the ramparts, you know.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't want to make any comments on our country's educational system, but there's some words here that some people might have a problem, like vauntingly. That's the one I use that word. I mean, that took a minute for me, my brain to process that.
Yeah.
No refugee could save the hireling, Hirelin. I don't even know what that means. I'm going to have to look that up. Enslaved from terror of flight or the gloom of the grave, and the star-spangled banner in triumph doth wave.
Now, How many? Now, doth is a word that should definitely have been stayed. It should have stayed in the national
bringing
anthem.
doth back.
Bringing doth back.
That sounds like a Star Wars character, Doth More. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
but instead of like a lightsaber, he just comes out and recites 18th century poetry, and everybody dies of boredom.
Can you imagine a whole baseball stadium just singing the word together? Doth!
we shall doth smite you, ye. But I turned that piano on because it's also a notoriously I guess we figured out what this show's doing today. It's a difficult national anthem because it spans an octave and a half. So if you bang a G up to a C above it, like so, that G right there, now go C above.
A C above.
Yeah, no, not that one. Yeah, that's why it's so difficult. That's a jump.
That's
Do it
high.
well. Turn it up and do it one more time.
That's a big range.
That's a big range.
That's a big range.
That's the key it was written in. Most people don't sing it now. They sing it in like B flat. Jeremy, I think this is going to be our last show. But we're not just going to leave the building. We'll do a series of shows as part of our farewell tour.
Oh, okay. So basically, we won't ever stop doing shows.
Well, that's funny you should say that. There are some artists that are currently back out on their farewell tours.
The third one.
Yeah, well, there's some real doozies, to be honest with you. I guess the one that really kills me is, I guess, the Eagles are still...
I heard that.
That's 5... I think this is their second farewell, and they're 5 years into it, 4 or 5 years.
You want to know something funny?
What's that?
The Eagles, in their farewell/reunion version, have been a band longer in their reunion version than they have been an actual band. So basically, when the Hell Freezes Over tour came out and they were a reunion band, that was somewhere in the mid-90s.
Yeah.
They were a band longer. They've been a band longer now than when they first came out in the 70s.
Is that true?
It's absolutely true.
Did they really come out in the 70s, or did they start in like the late 60s? They were that part of that whole whatever valley in California, LA scene, right?
Yeah.
Or no?
No, they were with Jackson Browne and Linda Ronstadt.
And there were a lot of guitar players around LA. Glenn Fry and Don Henley. I met them at the Troubadour Bar.
Oh man, it's gonna bug me now.
In the Canyon. That was a great documentary.
Laurel Canyon.
There's a documentary on Netflix about it
Yep,
right now.
Laurel
which is great.
Canyon. So they were Don Henley and Glenn Fry were part of Linda Ronstadt's band before they were the Eagles.
Oh right. Okay, that's right. I forgot about that.
But yeah, no, they've been a band longer in their reunion form than they have been when they've actually first came out.
That's pretty funny.
It is.
Yeah, I don't. So there's an article that you guys can all see. It's on Rolling Stone, but it's 13 farewell tours that didn't stick from Motley Crue to Kiss. Now, there are some ones here where I feel like, okay, maybe somebody thought like, okay, I'm pretty burnt out. This has been a good run. Let's go out on top, and then sat home for a couple years and we're like, dude, I'm not going to dig gardening and raking the yard anymore. Let me get back on the. So I'm sure that's a thing. But there are some artists where I'm kind of skeptical if it's not just a way to
Make money.
Yeah.
I'm totally fine with the band. Like, let's just say Don Henley who goes and revisits his solo career and does a whole bunch with a completely different band. It's just Don Henley. Maybe he plays an Eagle tune or two. That's fine. Like any artist that's known for doing some solo stuff. But the band permutation it's done. That's fine with me. I know Roger Waters has his own thing, and then Roger Daltrey does his own thing along with Pete Townsend. But then they converge together.
Did you know the Who had their first farewell tour in the 80s?
Yeah, I did actually. Yeah, I did.
Yeah, crazy, right?
I think they should call it Half the Who.
At
this point.
Well, it's kind of like the Grateful Dead, right? So the Grateful Dead's got Dead and Company.
Yeah.
Which is really no different than when they rebranded under Grateful Dead and they had Trey playing guitar for Jerry. It's kind of like this. It's not really the same band. So should the Eagles, instead of doing well, I guess it wouldn't make as much money. Like, because they have Vince Gill now, who I love Vince Gill. I'm a huge Vince Gill fan. I met him in a parking lot once, actually in Nashville, outside of a NAMM convention show. He was waiting for his Uber. And I was like, hey, great show, Mr. Gill. He's like, hey, okay. He was a super nice guy.
Yeah.
He's in the Eagles now, right?
Doing the Glenn Fry parts, yeah.
So instead of it being the Eagles, should it be like the Bird and the Eggs or something? What would be the spinoff? Like, so they could do the Dead and Company of the Grateful Dead. With
Vince Gill, the Eagles.
Vince Gill with his backing band, the Eagles.
That's right.
Yeah, see, I would go see that. Yeah, Motley Crue's another one that's been doing that. Although I haven't been following entirely what's going on with them. That band is a mess right now.
Well, they had that movie that came out, I think went straight to streaming, right?
Well, they had a movie came out, and that's part of like kind of what dug them back out, apparently, from this article on the road. But I know that they've got some issues going on with, what's his name, Nikki Sixx or whatever.
Oh.
And I don't know. I really don't care. I think when I saw that video where Tommy Lee wasn't even behind the drum set when the drums track started playing at a concert, I was like, F these guys. I don't know if I can say, I can say that.
F is a letter.
F is a letter. G, F those.
Is he a really good drummer? People say like in the 80s, like he was like apparently like a really great drummer, rock drummer.
Yeah, I mean, it's not my style, but yeah, absolutely. But now there are some, I mean, he broke a rib or there's some physical issues that I know he's been dealing with.
Yeah.
So if you got like a multi-million-dollar tour, I guess you have, like, I think we talked about this in another episode. You do what you got to do to make the show go. So I get it. Honestly, and my wife gets so mad at me because I just scream at this. This is
clouds.
Time for Jason yelling at clouds. I just like if you're gonna do something that's not live, there's got to be a disclaimer. If you're gonna buy a ticket, the ticket has to say some portion of this show was pre-recorded. They do it on the radio. Like when I had the interview with our station owner, Mr. Clanton. He told us, he's like, oh, by the way, this show is pre-recorded. We have to tell you that. So if I have to tell you that, and we're on nonprofit radio, and you're buying a $300, $400 ticket for some washed up hair metal band.
What you talking about, Willis?
There's my I'm angry that I didn't succeed in the music business line. Or am I just being a cranky old fart?
I think they do it on Broadway. I think they actually let you know a portion of this show has been pre-recorded.
They tell you. It comes over the speakers.
Yeah, they tell you in the house before the show comes on. So, no, you're absolutely right. I think they should. Because, I mean, how many times have people accused pop star X, who might have a good voice, but who has to hit like 10,000 dance moves? It's like they can't physically sing and do that dance at the same time.
I said that to my wife years ago. There's a Madonna show, and she was like, I mean, God bless her, she was going bonkers with some dance moves, and there wasn't a single, like...
Yeah, a breath.
And my wife's like, no. I'm like, I'll tell you what. Do 20 jumping jacks right now and just try to say the alphabet. Right. In fact, everybody at home, let's all do that. Let's all get up. Okay, now start. We're jumping.
Yeah.
You can't do it.
Yeah.
Hold on.
It ruins the illusion for some people, and they don't want their world blown up. They're like, no. Pop star X, you just name it, was singing. I believe they were. Well, then you know what? You keep on believing.
You keep on. What? Don't stop.
That's right. Well, that's one guy who never lip synced.
Believing, right? Well, I know you're a big Journey fan, right?
I love Journey.
Yeah,
Steve Perry's great.
There was one on CBS Sunday Morning where they actually interviewed him, and he's got some nice house. I want to say it was like outside of San Francisco, and about him ever coming back, and he's like, nope, I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah, I think pretty admirable.
I think he was fighting off some health issues with his voice or something, but probably one of the greatest rock singers in history, I'd say.
Yeah, quite the vocalist.
Don't worry, everybody. My dad is not stopping the show. For replays of this show, visit FromTheMusicStore.com or WBNJ.org. You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts.